Hey, what's up guys? It's week 47 and this week I finished all the little outstanding tasks I had for moving to my production infrastructure and I created an MRR tracking system, which is pretty cool. Let's get into it. All the things that I've done the past couple weeks are the stuff that I've delayed from the beginning of this journey. It's all the stuff that you shouldn't do until you know you have customers who are going to pay for your product. In the beginning, you don't even know what your domain name is going to be because you don't know what your product's going to be. So do you buy the domain? When you build your product, do you make sure every single thing is perfect? No. This is bootstrapping. So did it suck whenever I would do a build and the site would go down for like 30 seconds? Yes, but that's what enabled me to get here on a very low budget. And now my infrastructure costs are non-trivial at this point. So without proper attention, they could get out of control. And you don't want to go back on all of that hard work of setting up secure infrastructure, and you don't want to skimp on things that you know you're going to need. So I'm really glad to not have done that until I have revenue. So this is the price that I'm paying for bootstrapping to this point, and it's well worth it. So this week I finished up moving from Airtable as my backend to a proper Postgres database, and I did that in-place migration by using Redis as a cache and doing a check to see if I'm on Airtable or Postgres, running my migration, flipping the switch to move to Postgres, and then running my migration again to pick up anything that was missed during the time when that migration was running. And now I've trashed my Airtable database because I don't want to be holding on to customer data where I might forget about it. And so within 7 days, that's going to be completely deleted and I will cancel Airtable. I also took a new look at my workflow for deploying code to the system and made that a little more robust. So now it actually runs my database migration scripts. It inspects that to make sure that there wasn't an error. I get email notifications if any part of that deployment fails. And I also get a message if it succeeds. And so now I have complete control over my production environment just by pushing code to my GitHub repository. A really fun thing I did this week was created an MRR tracking system. So something to track my monthly recurring revenue. I'm getting revenue across 3 different systems. I'm getting it from Stripe for my native installs. I'm getting it from Wix for the Wix platform, and I'm getting it from Shopify. I need a way to look at my revenue across all these systems because they don't talk to each other very well. Getting this data right and having this tracking is really important to make informed decisions about how my business is doing. So this is an important moment to do that. And again, it's something that I'm glad I didn't do when I first set this stuff up. It's only important now that I actually have revenue. What I've learned from this is I actually have 4 yearly customers. I actually didn't know that because it's hard to manage all that data on those disparate systems. So now I know that I have 4 people who upgraded yearly, and that's a really good validation sign. I churned 2 of my earliest customers, which is not bad for as many customers as I have. I do have 25 total customers right now. And I set up a daily email from the system to me every morning that's going to tell me everything. It's going to show me how much MRR change I had, upgrades, downgrades, cancellations. That's going to help me keep a really good pulse on how I'm doing. One other thing that I've been working on that you guys probably saw from last week is I was using MailerLite to set up all my email automations. These are things like onboarding sequences. So when someone signs up for the service, I want to say thank you and welcome, and then I want to drip some emails to teach them about how to use the platform. Also, for people who are on their free trial, I want to explain some of the benefits of the system, and then over time, I want to be able to get back in touch with them to see if there's any way I can get their business if they haven't actually upgraded. So I've been using MailerLite to set all those up. And from my video last week, you may have seen that MailerLite just simply wasn't working for me. I've been in the hunt for a new system and I found Moosend, and it's a weird name, but it's actually been a really great product. I've really enjoyed setting it up. It was very easy. The API is very easy to use, and it's actually pretty similar to MailerLite's, so it really didn't take me that long to rewrite and get everything prepped for it. I haven't actually made the switch yet, but I've gotten everything else ready to go, so it shouldn't be long before I'm on that, and I can finally put an end to my marketing email automation woes that I've been dealing with. That will give me a way to continually refine that process for people who are signing up and get better and better with those emails and hopefully get more and more conversions. As far as pricing goes for Moosend, it's $9 a month for under 500 subscribers right now. And their pricing goes up with your usage pretty respectably. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a cost increase for me. Something I've learned from the marketing automation tools is keep these workflows simple. They can get really complex very quickly. And Moosend has got a really great set of things you can do in these workflows that have made it very useful to me, but it's also very easy to make that totally out of control and complicated. And the reason you want them to be simple is, one, not just because they can get hard to manage in your head, but eventually you might not be the one editing these workflows. And also, if something does go wrong with them, it's really hard to debug these automations if there's tons of different switches back and forth on conditional logic or different kinds of dynamic content. I want to keep it simple. And it does mean repeating some of my email content and having to edit in multiple places, but I think that's a price well worth paying for the simplicity of it all. One thing I didn't mention last week in my cost exploration and cost analysis for AWS was something really key, which is AWS cost budgets. So you can create a budget alert in Amazon. You can target it either at the forecasted amount for the month or the actual exact amount that you're spending and get alerted basically if you breach that. I have an expectation for how much these services are going to cost me, and I want to know if my assumption is wrong, because the worst thing is for AWS costs to silently creep out of control and then you have no idea what happened and it's costing you real money. That's definitely something I would recommend as part of the infrastructure setup, is keeping an eye on those costs, doing some audits every once in a while. One other thing I thought I would mention in this video is I've had a lot of late nights recently. Doing these weekly videos has given me a very nice concrete structure of what a week means and how much work I want to get done with each week. I want to keep on my toes for you guys. And sometimes the late nights help round that out. And if I'm really in the middle of something, it really helps me go over that hump and mark something completed. But I do have to budget that in my head, because you can't have sleepless nights all the time. You have to really make sure you're being healthy with your body, make sure you're not getting out of control, because there's always more things to do. You can always stay up late and fix another thing and fix another thing. Putting limits in place is really smart, and just keeping your head in the game about not letting you get out of control, because there's always a sense of urgency when you're building a startup. There's just a sense of like, if I'm not doing something, I'm not growing. And that is very true, but it's also, you have a limited amount of time, and it's something to just keep in your head so that you have a nice, pleasant, remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. All right, you guys, that's it for this week. Next week, I should be able to get back into feature development and responding to customer requests and figuring out what my customers want and what I'm gonna do about it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please tell your friends, and I will see you next week.